Real freedom is about living your life your way without harming someone else when they're living their life their way. The person that I got a chance to interview here is well known in the world for empowering people with practical steps on how they can live their lives in freedom and in safety. He is a person that is a genius. I am honored to have been able to talk with him, and I want to share this with you now. Join me as we have a wonderful interview from a practical point of view and from the reason why point of view. Cody Wilson. A lot of opportunities for people to really be empowered and do what they want to do. And I am so honored right now to be here at Defense Distributed in Austin, Texas with the one and only Cody Wilson. Cody, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you letting me come in here and talk with you. I was doing a program up in Dallas, like I mentioned, and a TV show. Wanted to come down here to get a chance to see you personally. You and I have met over Google Hangouts, got a chance to talk there, and now what I want to do is get a chance to see what you're doing. You got some awesome people, awesome audience, and what you're doing here at Defense Distributed is I see it as you're empowering the individual to be able to take care of themselves, to do more. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
This building is a facility for the manufacture of our Ghost Gunner CNC machine, which is a simple miniaturized machine tool, a little tight package that contains the best in both open source microcontrollers, stepper motors and electronics, and cutting tools, and that we've packaged it together and made it the most affordable, we think efficient and robust way of making military grade low receivers and doing other types of finishings of common 80% receiver frames to allow people to make guns for themselves privately.
Yeah, Justin was showing me around there about what you did. Very impressive and very good machinery and putting together. That's not something I study a lot. We didn't cover a lot of that in business school, but I am very impressed with what you're doing. It seems like you've got some state-of-the-art ways of putting these tools together.
Thank you for saying so. It's both. I think there's a bit of lopsidedness to it. Some of our capability is very well developed, and then some of it is very simple and something that you can imagine designing yourself. So some of our processes are just simple batch processes, right? Just hand assembling, hand fitting things, and then other aspects of our operation are now relatively advanced. We have relatively advanced microcontroller production, a pick and place machine, reflow ovens. When we have a full service machine shop and a VF3 Haas CNC machine. So look, we try to develop our capabilities. We try to find efficiencies where they're there, just so that we can create a consistent product, an affordable product, and something that will develop an appetite, at least on the part of the American public, for coming to us for their CNC.
Yeah, well, you're doing a good job. I mean, we're here in your offices. We're hearing sometimes the phone ringing and people operating right here as we're doing this. And to me, it's exciting to see what you're doing. Now, I understand you also have a product you put together that has helped a lot of people that you're looking at right now called the Liberator. Tell us a little bit about the Liberator.
Liberator was never a product per se, but I think I know what you mean. Yeah. The first generation of defense distributed files and demonstrables were meant as aesthetic practice, like political practice, more than here, American public, here's something you can buy and make for yourself. It was very important to say that the thing that we made could be made by you, that could be made at your home. We thought it was a kind of symbolic demonstration of the future of technology mediated through the internet to the benefit of the individual and his power vis-a-vis the state. But the Liberator was never meant to be something that you could go pick up at Kmart or something and regarded as like a reliable home defense weapon.
Yeah, exactly. It's something they do on their own. But to me, it seems like you're really in line with the First Amendment and the Second Amendment that is here. If we could bring back Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine, what do you think they would talk about with the kind of work that you're doing? What do you think would be their comment?
I think at least Payne and I could have a good conversation about civic republicanism and the more extreme variants of that republicanism, because at least those urban radicals of that revolutionary period believed in concepts like the universal militia, which is probably the main thematic of our organization. We believe that essentially the kind of terrifying ultimate consequences and purpose of something like the Second Amendment is the fact that it enables the body politic to have direct recourse of military-grade weapons. And this has been somewhat watered down in the kind of, public and modern apprehension of the Second Amendment. So Payne and I would at least be able to discuss on these terms whether he still feels comfortable with people owning AR-grade weapons or, military-grade stuff. Mr. Jefferson and I, Jefferson's a very interesting figure, a madman and a genius. And at least, though, I think, as a man of genius, I would have probably much to learn from him, and I would probably not try to talk to him too much. I would take his reaction to what we're doing and see if it was, because there's at least an opening, right? Mr. Jefferson believed in the possibility of continuous generational revolution against governments, maybe overthrowing them every 20 years, as he liked to say and suggest in some of his later letters. And of course, I think it was Mr. Jefferson's quote that the tree of liberty must be watered, with the blood of patriots. So we're at least in a similar ballpark of conversation. Though I don't know that Mr. Jefferson would believe in the truly radical universalized potential of some of these technologies.
He had some ideas, and I'm sure he would discuss it over a glass of wine, and be very good on that.
He couldn't afford.
Exactly. He wasn't able to afford a lot and ended up not doing too well. But, as we look at what's happening, and I'm really impressed with what you're doing and the stories that have come out about what you're doing here, it seems like you're helping and really giving people the power to run their lives the way they want. Do you see that as a trend in the midst of the oppression we see from governments? But we also see, on the other hand, the technology like Bitcoin and other tools give the individual the power to do something. There's like a dichotomy going on there. I'm confused. Help clear that up a little bit for me.
I think there's really unfathomable complexity to things like Bitcoin and these new technologies. And yes, you can see very clearly one public dimension of how we're directly enabling a totally new type of political freedom or free sphere of action with something like Bitcoin or 3D printing. But there's also, you have to admit the concomitant upgrades and capabilities on the part of the tax authorities, on the part of the regulatory authorities that now want to investigate things through the internet or use chain analysis techniques. Or, we have to remember that Bitcoin is still a public ledger. So the kind of good and evil of these technologies rise together. But at the same time, I don't know if that I'm pessimistic about it. I'm just saying that the problems come with solutions, and the solutions come with their own new sets of problems, and we can never be fully triumphalist about it. We can never say, we've reached the final plateau, right? It's just nothing but a new era of freedom ahead of us, folks. It's all the complexities tends to build upon other complexities.
Cody, what you're saying I think is really profound. It's good not only today, but I think this will be good 10, 20, 50 years from now, if I can be so presumptuous, because it's always a leapfrog. We come up with something, freedom, and then the government doesn't just sit back and go, oh, gee, it's all over now. No, they say, we've got to get this, and we got to stop what these bad guys are doing, and they would view people that want freedom and liberty as bad guys. And I think it's something for those of you watching this, very important to realize we have to continually keep refining our ideas of liberty and freedom and keep refreshing it. I think, as Jefferson said, every 50 years it has to be done. I think was what he said about the tree of liberty. But I think that we have to continue to stay alert and stay up with that. How do you keep a positive attitude in the midst of what we see going on with government, seem to encroach more and more on our freedoms and liberty? It would be very easy. We could understand those who say it's not worth it and they tend to give up. You've got that fighting entrepreneur spirit. What fuels that in you?
Well, thanks. I think there's a lot to be satisfied with in building tools, and both at the level of literally building tools, but then also at this metaphorical level. Guys like Deleuze, when they're making sense, say that this activity that you're recognizing about, maintaining this attitude of the free sphere of action is more of a kind of nomadic activity. It requires a type of nomadic thought. It requires a willingness to exist at the margins always to be outside of official culture, always to be outside of royal science and royal, do you know what I mean? This imperial attitude. And so if you can be comfortable being there, if you can be comfortable always scrounging, kind of always moving, and maybe it's a young man's game, right? Or maybe it's the young at heart's game. I don't know. And I admit that you can probably get tired and burn out if you don't take care of yourself, but it's always, at least in my mind, it's always satisfying to be moving, to be building, to be trying, to be striving, right? To bring.
I think we do best as human beings when we have that stretching there. Dennis Waitley talked about it. So you want that goal that is within sight but out of reach. And so we do best as human beings when we're scratching and clawing and trying to get better all the time. At least it seems that way. What do you think?
I think that's true, both at just the level of basic human fulfillment, and then also you want You want mountains beyond mountains. It's not enough to just, if we had printed a gun and be like, look, what a great demonstration. No, it contained only a tiny grain of potential to suggest the wealth of action that needed to be done thereafter. And the truly satisfying thing is to imagine and then try to pursue the whole harvest of intended and suggested phenomena from that activity. So, the world only opened up for me after something like that.
It sounds like you're saying, don't rest on your laurels. Keep growing, keep stretching all the time.
Sure. But I'll be honest, right? And maybe people think this way, but I see nothing that we've done as something like that is a laurel to rest on. I see it only as kind of suggestions of something more serious to come. And I want to be the person involved in the serious thing, not just the suggestive act.
I love that. If anyone could sit back and rest on their laurels, those of you watching this, Cody could do that. I mean, he's done some outstanding things. It's well known. And what he's done, he can sit back and go, okay, but I found something in my own life as a professional speaker and syndicated columnist that I am. When I sit back, I prop my feet up on the desk, lace my fingers behind my head and go, hey, I'm doing all right here. That's the first sign things are starting to go down. Yeah. It's like we've got to have that, that one hurt. I lost that one. Got to keep going.
I would never. I fear those moments. And I remember slanders against John Kerry one time. I forgot who said it. It might have been Rush Limbaugh. John Kerry's the guy that turns the lights off down low late at night, pours himself a glass of brandy, and thinks, "Man, I'm just the greatest." That is defeat. That's the sickness unto death right there. If you can trick yourself into going down that road, then you're in a lot of trouble.
So, Cody, as we want kind of wind things down here, what would you say to that person watching this? And they might have run into some real pain. They've been thwarted by government or other areas. Sometimes they just want to give up. What would you say to that person?
Look, I would say build concrete things. All right, this can still mean that you're only building software, or it doesn't mean. I don't mean it literally, but I mean that there's so many tools that need to be built, and there's so many connections that need to be made, bridges and other types of things. There's so many applications that need to be created. Don't lose yourself in theory per se. Don't be discouraged with the roiling nature of our community and how it comes together and breaks apart. And don't lose yourself strictly in the culture. Build things, plant your feet, and other people will come to you to collaborate with you and keep that activity going.
Damn, that's good. Cody, someone says, okay, I want to get in touch with you. How would they reach you, Defense Distributed? How do they get in touch?
Well, look, I'm on Twitter. The DMs are always open, okay? But I have my email is at the Ghost Gunner site. It's at the Defense Distributed site. My public key is on the public key servers. Anyone who wants to contact me has always been able to contact me.
What's that URL?
defdis.org, ghostgunner.net, and anywhere you Google Cody Wilson.
All right. Cody, thank you so much. An honor to have you here, sir. Thank you. And get in touch with Cody. Find out what's there. What he's saying is important. We all go through those times of being discouraged and feeling down. Look what this man has done. Study it, see what he's done, but he's not resting on his laurels, and neither should you. I'm Terry Brock with terrybrock.com, and thank you for joining us.